My alpha husband, to climb the corporate ladder, sent me to the bed of an Enigma CEO. You're a low-tier Omega, no risk of pregnancy. When Ryder's done with you, I'll take you back. Ryder took me in, offering kindness and respect I'd never known. In his love, I conceived a child. But as I prepared to share the news, I overheard him tell a friend, just a stand-in. Brandon's back now. It's time to let him go. Chapter 1, Betrayal's Heat. I woke to a searing heat, my body twisting against the silk sheets of a hotel bed. Sweat clung to my skin, my pulse hammering as the faint floral scent of my pheromones, something like jasmine, but sharper, filled the air. My wrists ached, bound by coarse rope to the headboard. My head throbbed, a dull reminder of how I got here. Asher, my husband, the man who'd knelt at my feet this morning, tears streaming, begging me to do this for him. Tristan, this promotion's my shot. Years of grinding, and it all comes down to this. Help me, please. His voice had cracked, but his eyes were cold, calculating. I'd shaken my head, refusing. Everyone knew Ryder Kane, the Enigma CEO, was ruthless, a man who crushed anyone who dared manipulate him. Being offered up as a pawn was a death sentence. You're a low-tier Omega, Asher had said, wiping his nose. You can't get pregnant, so it's safe. When Ryder's bored, I'll bring you home. I won't care what he's done to you. I'll love you more than ever. His promises were hollow, and I'd said no. But Asher didn't listen. A sharp pain, then darkness. He'd knocked me out. Now, my first day of heat cycle was in full swing, my body betraying me with every ragged breath. The room was a blur of dim lights and sleek furniture, but I barely noticed. My pheromones were out of control, flooding the space. I tugged at the ropes, panic rising. No phone, no escape. Asher, you bastard. The door clicked open. My heart stopped as Ryder Kane stepped in, loosening his tie with one hand, the other rubbing his temple. His presence hit like a storm, tall, broad-shouldered. His Enigma pheromones sharp and commanding, like cedar and steel. They clashed with mine, making my skin prickle. I let out a small, involuntary whimper. His head snapped up, dark eyes narrowing. The air grew heavier, his pheromones spiking with territorial aggression. He scanned the room, then locked onto me. Slowly, he approached, each step deliberate, his polished shoes silent on the carpet. My body trembled, nerves screaming under his gaze. Who the hell are you? His voice was low, edged with irritation, as he stopped at the bed. He gripped my chin, tilting my face up. His touch was firm but not cruel, his fingers cool against my fevered skin. Tristan, I managed, my voice a hoarse whisper. Heat flushed my cheeks, shame burning hotter than my cycle. He must think I'm some desperate floozy, crawling into his bed for a thrill. My body, damn it, wasn't helping, softening, craving, despite my fear. Low-tier Omegas like me had no control in heat, and I hated it. Ryder's frown deepened, but something flickered in his eyes. His pheromones softened, the oppressive weight easing slightly. Tristan, he repeated, testing the name. His thumb brushed my jaw, lingering a moment too long. I bit my lip, fighting the urge to lean into his touch. My heat was messing with my head, making me want things I shouldn't. Why are you here? He asked, releasing my chin but staying close. His scent was overwhelming, pulling at my instincts. I squirmed, the ropes biting into my wrists. I didn't choose this, I said, voice shaking. My husband, Asher, he tied me up, said it was for his promotion. The words tasted bitter, my eyes stinging. I looked away, humiliated. Ryder's expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened. Asher Kane? He asked, voice clipped. I nodded, unable to meet his gaze. That spineless prick. I blinked, startled by his bluntness. A nervous laugh slipped out before I could stop it. Yeah, that's him. Ryder's lips twitched, almost a smirk. So he thought throwing you at me would seal the deal? Bold move for a coward. He leaned closer, inspecting the ropes. His fingers grazed my wrist, and I flinched, not from pain but from the electric jolt his touch sent through me. Don't, I whispered, my voice betraying my panic. Please, just let me go. He paused, studying me. You think I'm gonna hurt you? His tone was dry, almost amused, but his eyes were unreadable. Relax, sweetheart. I don't play with unwilling partners. Then why am I still tied up? I snapped, surprising myself. My heat was making me bold, or maybe it was desperation. Ryder raised an eyebrow, clearly not used to backtalk. Fair point. He pulled a pocket knife from his suit jacket, flicking it open with a practiced ease. I tensed, but he cut the ropes in one swift motion, freeing my wrists. I rubbed them, wincing at the red marks. Get up, he said, stepping back. You're not staying here. I sat up, dizzy, my body still buzzing with heat. Where am I supposed to go? I can't, not like this. My voice cracked, the reality hitting hard. I was in heat, alone with nowhere safe to ride it out. Ryder sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. You're a liability like this. He grabbed his phone, typing quickly. I'm calling my driver. He'll take you wherever you need to go. You're not throwing me out? I asked, confused. The rumors painted Ryder as a cold-blooded bastard, not someone who'd bother helping. He gave me a sidelong glance. What, you want me to keep you here? His tone was teasing, but there was an edge to it, like he was testing me. No, I said too quickly, my face burning. I just thought you'd be angrier. Oh, I'm pissed, he said, tucking his phone away. But not at you. Asher's the one who'll regret this. His voice dropped, a promise of trouble. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for Asher. Almost. Before I could respond, my body betrayed me again. The heat surged, a wave of need so strong I gasped, clutching the sheets. Ryder's pheromones flared in response, instinctive, making my head spin. I leaned forward, my lips brushing his fingers before I could stop myself. My vision blurred, and everything went black. Chapter 2, Fractured Bonds and an Unexpected Ride Home. I woke to a cool sensation on my neck, the faint adhesive pull of an inhibitor patch grounding me. The hotel room was empty, the air no longer thick with my jasmine-scented pheromones. Ryder was gone, but he'd left the patch, a small, unexpected mercy. My heat had dulled to a manageable hum, and the ropes were gone, my wrists still tender but free. I sat up, my head clearer but my heart heavier. Asher's betrayal burned, but Ryder's restraint confused me. The rumors painted him as a monster, not someone who'd bother with inhibitor patches. I didn't stick around to question it. I grabbed my jacket and bolted. The city's morning buzz a blur as I hailed a cab to the apartment I shared with Asher. My stomach churned at the thought of facing him, but I needed answers, or at least my stuff. The cab dropped me off at our rundown building, and there he was, leaning against the doorframe like he'd been waiting all night. Asher's blonde hair was mussed, his tie loose, but his eyes lit up with something like relief when he saw me. Tristan! He rushed forward, pulling me into a hug before I could dodge. His nose buried in my neck, sniffing for Ryder's scent. He didn't touch you, did he? I shoved him off, my skin crawling. You're unbelievable. My voice shook with rage. You drugged me, tied me up, and now you're checking if I'm used? What's wrong with you? Asher flinched, his hands raised defensively. Babe, I was worried. I didn't know if Ryder would. He stopped, catching my glare. Look, this was for us. The promotion's in the bag now. We're set. For us. I laughed, bitter and sharp. You sold me out for a corner office, Asher. We're done. I want a divorce. His face crumpled, but it was all performance. Tristan, come on. You know I love you. I'd never think less of you, no matter what happened. He reached for my arm, and I slapped his hand away, the crack echoing in the hallway. Don't touch me, I snapped. You don't get to play the devoted husband now. Pack your shit and go. Asher's mask slipped, his eyes narrowing. You're overreacting. You're a low-tier Omega. Nobody else would have put up with you. You need me. I slapped him, hard. The sting in my palm felt good. Righteous. I needed a husband, not a pimp. Get out. He rubbed his cheek, stunned, then stormed off, muttering about my ingratitude. I didn't care. I locked the door, my hands shaking as I started packing. Asher could have the apartment. I was done with him. A week later, I was on a film set, a low-budget indie project where I played a background extra. It was grunt work, but it paid, and I needed the distraction. The set was a chaotic mess of lights and shouting crew members, and I kept my head down, trying to blend in. Word had spread that the film's investor was visiting today, and the director was in a frenzy, barking orders to impress them. I didn't expect the investor to be Ryder. His black Maybach rolled up, sleek and out of place among the dusty trailers. The crew fell silent, watching as he stepped out, all sharp suit and sharper gaze. My stomach flipped, memories of the hotel room rushing back. His scent, his touch. I ducked behind a prop table, praying he wouldn't notice me. No such luck. Ryder's eyes scanned the set, pausing when they landed on me. I froze, but he didn't approach. Instead, he headed straight for Elliot, the film star and a high-tier Omega with a dazzling smile and a rumored engagement to Ryder. The crew whispered as Ryder and Elliot exchanged a few words, then left together in the Maybach. I exhaled, relieved but oddly hollow. That evening, the director insisted we all attend a wrap-up dinner at a swanky downtown restaurant. I went, mostly for the free food, lingering at the bar as the crew mingled. Elliot was the center of attention, charming everyone, while I nursed a soda, waiting for my rideshare. The night air was cool when I stepped outside, and I nearly jumped when Ryder's Maybach pulled up beside me. "Get in," he said, his voice calm but firm through the open window. I hesitated, my pulse racing. "Why? Is this about Asher?" Ryder leaned across the passenger seat, his dark eyes glinting. "Elliot asked me to give you a lift. Said you two are buddies." His tone was skeptical, like he didn't quite buy it. I frowned. Elliot and I had chatted a few times on set. Sure, but we weren't close enough for him to send his supposed fiancée to play chauffeur. "I'm fine. My ride's coming." A car honked behind us, and Ryder's jaw ticked. "You gonna make a scene, or you getting in? Last chance." I sighed, climbing into the passenger seat. The leather was soft, the car smelling faintly of Ryder's cedar and steel pheromones. I clutched my bag, avoiding his gaze. "Thanks, I guess." He pulled into traffic, one hand on the wheel, the other tapping his phone. "So," he said, voice casual but pointed, "you're not as bold as you were last time. What happened to the guy who bit my finger?" My face burned. I was in heat. It wasn't me. I cringed at how weak that sounded. Ryder chuckled, low and warm. "Sure it wasn't." He glanced at me, his smirk infuriatingly smug. "You're not what I expected, Tristan." "What's that supposed to mean?" I shot back, bristling. He didn't answer, just kept driving, his silence louder than words. I stared out the window, my mind a mess. Ryder wasn't the monster I'd feared, but he wasn't safe either. Not for me. Chapter 3, A Dangerous Pull. The narrow street to my new apartment was a maze of cracked pavement and flickering streetlights. Ryder's Maybach idled at the curb, too wide for the alley where my rented room waited. I fumbled with the door handle, my cheeks warm from his earlier teasing. "Thanks for the ride," I mumbled, eager to escape the cedar and steel scent of his pheromones clouding my head. Ryder killed the engine and stepped out, his tall frame looming as he rounded the car. "I'm walking you in," he said, not asking. "You don't have to," I protested, clutching my bag. "It's fine. I've got this." He raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "In this neighborhood? With your heat barely under control? Not a chance." His tone was firm, but there was a flicker of something softer in his dark eyes. Concern, maybe. It threw me off. I sighed, leading the way down the alley. His footsteps echoed behind me, steady and close, like a shield against the shadows. My usual paranoia about walking alone here eased, replaced by a different kind of tension. Ryder Kane, Enigma CEO, trailing me to my shitty studio apartment. It was absurd. At my door, I turned to face him, keys jingling in my shaky hand. "Well, this is me. Thanks again." I forced a smile, hoping he'd leave. He didn't. His gaze lingered on my face, intense and unreadable. "Tristan," he said, voice low. "Your face. It's made for the screen. Ever thought about bigger roles?" I blinked, caught off guard. Was he serious? "I'm just an extra, barely scraping by." I laughed nervously, brushing it off. "But, thanks for the vote of confidence." He nodded, still watching me, then turned to go. "Get some rest," he said over his shoulder. "And lock your door." I stood there, dumbfounded, as his car's taillights vanished. His words stuck with me, a spark of something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, maybe. But hope was dangerous around someone like Ryder. Days later, the film set was buzzing with tension. Ryder had been showing up more often, his Maybach a regular fixture. The crew whispered he was there for Elliot, his supposed fiancée, but his eyes kept finding me, lingering, assessing. It made my skin prickle, half from nerves, half from something I refused to name. The director noticed, too, and started shoving me into Ryder's orbit, assigning me pointless tasks like delivering scripts when he was around. Tristan, take this to Mr. Kane, the director barked, thrusting a clipboard at me. I groaned internally but complied, weaving through the chaos of lights and cables. Ryder was by the catering table talking to Elliot. I hesitated, not wanting to interrupt, but Elliot spotted me and waved me over with a grin. Hey Tristan, come meet the big boss properly. Elliot's voice was warm, his high-tier Omega charm effortless. He was everything I wasn't. Confident, polished, untouchable. Ryder turned, his gaze locking onto me. We've met, he said dryly, a smirk tugging at his lips. Right, Tristan? I flushed, remembering the hotel room. Yeah. Hi. I shoved the clipboard at him, avoiding eye contact. Director's notes. He took it, his fingers brushing mine. I pulled back too fast, nearly dropping the board. Elliot raised an eyebrow, amused. You two are weirdly intense, he said, laughing. Chill, Tristan. He doesn't bite. Much. Ryder shot him a look. Don't scare him, Elliot. I'm not scared, I muttered, crossing my arms. Liar. My pulse was racing, and not just from embarrassment. The day took a turn during a stunt scene. I was rigged up in a harness, dangling 10 feet above the set for a crowd shot. The wires creaked, and before I could react, one snapped. I plummeted. A scream caught in my throat, the ground rushing up. Strong arms caught me, the impact jarring but safe. Ryder. He'd sprinted across the set, his face taut with focus. Pain flashed in his eyes as he set me down, his left arm trembling. You okay? He asked, voice rough. Yeah. I gasped, heart pounding. Your arm. He waved it off, but his grimace betrayed him. The crew swarmed, and an hour later we were in the hospital. Ryder's arm was in a sling, a severe fracture requiring a cast. Guilt gnawed at me as I sat by his bed, watching him scowl at a nurse who dared suggest he stay overnight. You didn't have to do that, I said quietly, twisting my hands. Jump in like some action hero. He snorted. What let you faceplant? Not my style. His tone was light, but his gaze was heavy, searching my face. I shifted, uncomfortable. Still, thanks. I hesitated, then blurted, Why do you keep looking at me like that? Ryder's smirk returned, lazy and dangerous. Like what? Like, I don't know. Like I'm a puzzle. My face heated, and I cursed my lack of filter. He leaned forward, wincing slightly at the movement. Maybe you are. His voice dropped, teasing but edged with something deeper. Tristan, you want to know what I think? I swallowed, my mouth dry. What? Be with me. The words were blunt, no hesitation. You and me. What do you say? My brain short-circuited. You're joking. You're engaged to Elliot. Ryder's laugh was sharp. Engaged? That's just business. A deal my family pushed. Elliot's not interested, and neither am I. He pulled out his phone, dialed, and put it on speaker. Elliot, tell him. Elliot's voice crackled through. Tristan, dude. I'm not marrying this guy. I'd rather date a cactus. No offense, Ryder. None taken, Ryder said, eyes on me. So? I stared, my heart a mess of fear and want. He'd saved me, looked at me like I mattered. Against my better judgment, I nodded. Okay. His smile was slow, triumphant. Good choice. Chapter 4. Illusions of love shattered on a lonely street. Ryder's penthouse was a world away from my old life with Asher. Sleek glass walls and polished floors screamed wealth, but I barely noticed, too caught up in the whirlwind of being with him. I'd quit the film set, trading bit parts for a job as Ryder's personal assistant. It wasn't glamorous, scheduling meetings, fetching coffee, but it meant being near him. His cedar and steel scent lingered in every room, and his small gestures, like a hand on my back or a lingering glance, made my heart race. Tonight, we were in Iceland, one of Ryder's impulsive getaways. The sky glowed faintly with the aurora, but I was focused on him, sitting across from me in a cozy restaurant. He leaned forward, his dark eyes soft. Smile for me, Tristan, he said, his voice low, almost reverent. I laughed, self-conscious. What's with you and my face? It was a running joke, his obsession with my expressions. He'd say the same thing in Hawaii, watching me laugh by the ocean, or in the Alps where he'd taught me to ski, catching me when I fell. You light up, he said simply, brushing his thumb across my cheek. My skin tingled, but he pulled back, always stopping short of anything more. Even in my heat cycles, he kept his distance, citing control, not wanting to hurt me. It made me feel cherished, like I was more than my low-tier Omega status. Back at his penthouse a week later, everything changed. We'd been out celebrating a deal, wine flowing too freely. For once, Ryder's restraint slipped. His kisses were hungry, his hands everywhere, and I didn't stop him. It was messy, perfect, and over too fast. The next morning, he was back to his usual self, professional but warm, leaving me dazed but hopeful. Then I missed my cycle. A drugstore test confirmed it. Pregnant. Impossible for a low-tier Omega like me, but here we were. My hands shook as I clutched the stick, joy and fear colliding. Ryder had to know. He'd be shocked, maybe thrilled. I imagined his smile, the one that made my knees weak, and headed to his office, buzzing with anticipation. The high-rise was all glass and steel, a monument to Ryder's power. His staff barely glanced at me anymore, used to my presence. I had access to his private elevator, a privilege that still felt unreal. I stepped out on the top floor, my sneakers silent on the marble, and headed for his office. The door was ajar, voices drifting through. "So, what's the plan with Tristan?" a man asked, his tone casual but sharp. I froze, recognizing Jace, Ryder's old friend. Ryder's voice was cool, dismissive. "He's a stand-in. Brandon's back now. Time to cut him loose." My blood ran cold. "Stand-in? Brandon?" Jace chuckled. "Gotta say, he's a good one. Looks enough like Brandon to fool anyone. Shame he's just a low-tier Omega. Must have been fun while it lasted." "Yeah. Well," Ryder said, his tone flat. He served his purpose. I pressed a hand to my mouth, stifling a gasp. The test stick dug into my palm. My vision blurred. Not from heat but from tears I refused to let fall. I was a placeholder, a cheap imitation of someone else. Every touch, every trip, every smile for me was a lie. I backed away, the door clicking shut as I fled. The city streets swallowed me, a gray blur of noise and faces. I wandered, my coat too thin for the autumn chill, my mind replaying Ryder's words. A stand-in. For Brandon, whoever he was. The man Ryder really wanted. My hand rested on my stomach, the tiny life inside a cruel reminder of my stupidity. I'd let myself believe I was special, that an enigma like Ryder could love me. I sank onto a bench, the weight of it crushing. Asher had used me for a promotion. Ryder had used me to fill a void. I was nothing to them, just a tool. My chest tightened, nausea rising. I wanted to scream, to disappear, but the baby, my baby, kept me grounded. Couldn't fall apart. Not yet. "Hey, you okay?" A voice cut through my haze, bright and concerned. I looked up, and my breath caught. The man kneeling before me had my face, or close enough. Same dark hair, same cheekbones, but his eyes were sharper, his confidence radiant. An Omega, high tier, with a faint citrus scent that soothed my frayed nerves. "I'm fine," I lied, wiping my eyes. My voice cracked, betraying me. "You don't look fine." He sat beside me, uninvited but not unwelcome. "I'm Brandon. What's your name?" "Tristan," I said, the irony biting. Of course, Brandon, the original, the one Ryder wanted. I studied him, searching for what made him better, worthier. He was polished, sure, but his smile was warm, not smug. "Rough day?" he asked, tilting his head. "Want to talk about it?" "I'm a great listener." I laughed, bitter. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me." His tone was light, but his eyes were earnest. "I've heard some wild shit in my time." I hesitated, then blurted. "My ex-husband sold me to an Enigma for a promotion. Then the Enigma used me as your stand-in. Oh, and I'm pregnant. So yeah, rough day." Brandon's jaw dropped. Then he whistled. "Damn, that's a plot twist. Who's the Enigma?" "Ryder Kane," I said, bracing for his reaction. His face darkened, but not with jealousy, disgust. "That asshole? Figures. He's been pulling this crap for years." He leaned closer, voice softening. "Tristan, you don't deserve this. None of it." His words cracked something in me, and I looked away, throat tight. "Why are you being nice? I'm just your knockoff." Brandon laughed, sharp and genuine. "Knockoff? Please, you're the real deal, Tristan. Ryder's the one with bad taste." He stood, offering a hand. "Come on, let's get you somewhere warm. My treat." I took his hand, unsure but desperate for a lifeline. As we walked, I realized I wasn't alone. Not yet. Chapter 5. Finding an ally in the glow of a neon night. The hospital waiting room smelled of antiseptic, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. I sat on a stiff chair, clutching a paper cup of lukewarm tea Brandon had pressed into my hands. My stomach still churned from earlier, the memory of Ryder's words, a stand-in, looping in my head. Brandon sat beside me, scrolling through his phone. His citrus sent a quiet comfort. He'd insisted on bringing me here after finding me on the street, pale and shaking, my body reacting to the stress of my pregnancy. "You sure you're okay?" he asked, glancing up. His eyes, so like mine but brighter, searched my face. "You looked like you were about to pass out back there." I managed a weak smile. "Just overwhelmed. The doctor said it's just stress hormones messing with the baby. I'll be fine." I touched my stomach, grounding myself. The baby was real, mine, no matter what Ryder thought. Brandon nodded, leaning back. "Good. You had me worried, man." He paused, then grinned. "So pregnant, huh? That's wild for a low-tier Omega. You must be thrilled." "Terrified, mostly," I admitted, my voice low. I thought Ryder would be, too." My throat tightened, and I looked away, embarrassed. Brandon's grin faded. "Ryder's an idiot. Always has been." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "You want to know the real story? Me and him go way back. Grew up together, best friends, all that jazz. I had a crush on him before I presented as an Omega. Then I did, and he flipped. Said Omegas belong at home, not in boardrooms. Kicked me out of our startup like I was trash." I stared, shocked. "That's why you left?" "Yup. Packed my bags and bailed to Europe." He shrugged, but his eyes were hard. "He's been chasing stand-ins ever since, trying to replace me. You're not the first, Tristan. Won't be the last." The words stung, but they also steadied me. I wasn't special to Ryder, but I wasn't alone in his mess either. "Thanks for telling me," I said quietly. "And for this." I gestured vaguely at the hospital, his presence. He waved it off. "Don't get sappy. I just didn't want to leave you on a bench like some lost puppy." His grin returned, teasing. "Besides, you're too cute to mope." I snorted, my face warming. "Shut up." The doctor called my name, and Brandon stayed through the checkup, cracking jokes to ease my nerves. When we left, he insisted on driving me to a diner, piling pancakes on my plate. "Eat," he said, pointing a fork at me. "You're feeding too now." I laughed, the first real one in days. Brandon was a whirlwind, but his warmth was infectious, pulling me out of my spiral. That night, I followed him. Stupid, maybe, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know who Brandon was when he wasn't playing savior. His apartment was downtown, and I tailed him to a neon-lit bar, slipping inside unnoticed. The place was loud, packed with bodies and pulsing music. Brandon was at a corner booth, laughing with Elliot, the actor from my old set. They looked free, alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. Elliot spotted me lurking and raised a brow. "Tristan? You stalking now?" His tone was playful, not accusing, as he waved me over. "Join us. Don't be a weirdo." I hesitated, but Brandon's grin sealed it. "Come on, lost puppy. Have a drink." He slid over, patting the seat. I sat, feeling out of place but oddly welcome. "So, you two know each other?" I asked, eyeing them. Elliot's high-tier Omega status and rumored link to Ryder still nagged at me. "Old friends," Elliot said, sipping his beer. "Brandon's the only one who can keep up with me." He smirked, then leaned in. "Heard you ditched Ryder. Good call. Guy's a walking red flag." Brandon laughed, loud and unfiltered. "Preach. He's got this whole, I'm an Enigma, bow to me vibe. Gross." He turned to me, eyes softening. "You're better off, Tristan. Trust me." I nodded, but the ache lingered. "He wasn't all bad," I said, almost to myself. "He was gentle sometimes." "Gentle?" Brandon scoffed. "That's just him playing the long game. He's got a type and we're it." He gestured between us, his face too close to mine. "But you're not me. You're you. Don't let him make you feel less." His words hit hard, and I swallowed, nodding. The conversation shifted to lighter things. Elliot's latest role, Brandon's travel stories, but I felt a shift in myself. I wasn't just Ryder's stand-in. I was Tristan. The bar's noise drowned out my phone's vibrations. When I checked, I had missed calls from Ryder. Dozens. My thumb hovered over his name, but I shoved the phone back in my pocket. Not tonight. Outside, as Brandon and Elliot stumbled out, laughing, I followed. Ryder's Maybach was parked across the street, and he leaned against it, cigarette in hand. His eyes found me, then Brandon, and lit up with something desperate. "Tristan," he called, tossing the cigarette. "We need to talk." "Pass," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Brandon swayed, drunk but sharp. "Oh, look, it's Mr. Deep and Meaningful." He stepped between us, glaring at Ryder. "Get lost, Kane. Nobody wants your drama." Ryder's jaw clenched, his pheromones flaring, dominant, possessive. "Brandon, stay out of this." "Tristan, I didn't mean what I said." "You're not." "Not what?" "Your toy." I cut in, anger flaring. "I heard you, Ryder. I'm done." He stepped closer, voice low. "You don't understand. I kept you close because I look like him?" I jerked my thumb at Brandon, who smirked. "Save it. I'm not your placeholder." Brandon clapped my shoulder, grinning. "That's my boy." He turned to Ryder, eyes blazing. "You heard him. Beat it or I'll make you." Ryder's gaze lingered on me, pained, but I turned away, walking with Brandon. I felt the weight lifting just a little. Chapter 6. Seeds of a New Life. Brandon's loft was a chaotic blend of art prints and mismatched furniture, a far cry from Ryder's sterile penthouse. I'd been crashing here for months, my few belongings tucked into a corner. Brandon insisted I stay, claiming he'd be bored out of his mind alone. I knew it was his way of sparing my pride, and I let him, paying rent with what little I earned from odd jobs. Today, he was sprawled on the couch, holding one of my sketches, a cityscape I'd drawn absent-mindedly. "Tristan, this is legit," he said, tilting the paper to the light. "You've got serious talent. Why'd you ever stop?" I shrugged, stacking dishes in the sink. Life happened. Presented as a low-tier Omega, family gave up on me, married Asher. Painting wasn't exactly on the table. My voice was casual, but the old sting lingered. Brandon sat up, eyes bright. "Screw that. You're picking it back up. I know a guy, art professor, big deal in the scene. I'm setting you up with lessons." I froze, dishwater dripping from my hands. "Brandon, I can't afford." "It's on me," he cut in, waving off my protest. "Consider it an investment in a future masterpiece. Your kid's gonna need a cool dad, right?" I laughed, warmth spreading through me. "You're ridiculous." "And you're welcome," he shot back, grinning. He wasn't wrong. The idea of painting again, of being more than someone's pawn, lit something in me I thought I'd lost. Months turned into years. I threw myself into art, studying under Brandon's professor friend. My daughter, Lily, was born. A tiny hurricane with my eyes and a knack for smearing paint on everything. By her 3rd birthday, my work was gaining traction, gallery shows, articles, even a feature in an international art mag. I was no longer just Tristan, the Omega who'd been used and discarded. I was an artist, a father, a man who'd clawed his way back. Now, I was headed to a conference in London, my first big international gig. Brandon was watching Lily, who clung to his leg as we stood outside his loft, her chubby hands waving. "Daddy, bring me a toy," she demanded, all bossy 3-year-old energy. "Only if you don't drive Uncle Brandon nuts," I teased, kissing her forehead. Brandon scooped her up, smirking. "She's an angel, unlike her dad, who's dodging my very serious proposal." He leaned close, voice low and playful. "Come on, Tristan. You me epic romance. Picture it. Matching easels, paint fights, the works." I laughed, shoving his shoulder. "You're a menace." But my cheeks warmed, and I caught the spark in his eyes. Half joking, half something else. "Maybe when I'm back," I said, mimicking his dramatic tone. His grin widened, dazzling. "I'm holding you to that, lost puppy." I rolled my eyes, grabbing my suitcase. "Take care of my kid, not your ego." As I headed for the airport, his laughter followed me, a reminder of how far I'd come. The airport was a blur of announcements and rushing travelers. I checked in, my mind on the conference, when I spotted him, Ryder, in the business class lounge, looking as polished as ever. Beside him was a new Omega, eerily similar to me. Same dark hair, same sharp jaw. The guy was mid-rant, arms crossed, tearing into Ryder. "You think you can just flash your Enigma vibes and I'll swoon? Keep acting like a tool and I'm out. I don't need your drama." Ryder's face was a storm cloud, his jaw tight. You're overreacting, Milo. Overreacting. Milo scoffed, popping a chip in his mouth. You're the one who thinks sorry fixes everything. Grow up. He turned, catching my eye, and winked. Enjoy the show? I stifled a laugh, shaking my head. Ryder's gaze followed, and his expression shifted. Surprise, then something like regret. Tristan, he called, standing. I kept walking, but he caught up, his scent hitting me like a memory I didn't want. Can we talk? He asked, voice low. Nope, I said, not breaking stride. Got a plane to catch. He grabbed my arm, gentle but firm. Tristan, please. I messed up. I never meant. I yanked free, turning to face him. You meant every word. I was a stand-in, Ryder. A cheap copy of Brandon. You don't get to rewrite that now. His eyes flickered, pained. It wasn't like that. Cared about you. I still. Save it. I cut in, my voice cold. I don't need your pity. I've got a kid, a career, a life. Without you. I stepped closer, letting my anger show. You're stuck in the past, chasing shadows. I'm not one of them anymore. Milo, still munching chips, chimed in. Ouch, man. That's gotta sting. He smirked at Ryder, who looked like he'd been slapped. I turned away, boarding pass in hand. Have a nice life, Ryder, I said, and meant it. As I walked to my gate, a weight lifted. I wasn't his anymore. I was mine. On the plane, I smiled, thinking of Lily's giggle, Brandon's ridiculous flirting, the canvases waiting for me. The world was changing. Omegas like me, Milo, even Brandon were carving out space, demanding respect. Ryder's kind, with their old-school Enigma arrogance, were fading. Good riddance. I leaned back, closing my eyes. Life had tried to bury me, but I'd grown through the cracks. A seed, not a victim, and I was just getting started.